Do you find yourself confused? You thought sales prices were the same as list prices, and all of a sudden you go to bid on a house and you're getting outbid by multiple offers. How's that happening? What's going on? How do you know the current market trends? Well, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Theresa Wellman with HomeownerExperience.com. Today we're going to talk about the current market trends. Typically, I give a monthly market overview of what's going on using sales data, close data, days of inventory, sales price to list price data, and all of this information is actually based on closed sales. And I know I've talked about it in my videos before, but when it's a closed sale data, that means the actual market activity or the when that property sold was 30 to 45 days prior to that. And you know what? In 2022, we've had quite a volatile market, especially the second half. So how do you get a pulse on what's actually happening? So if you're a buyer, you don't miss out and you make the best offer. Or if you're a seller, that you're pricing your property accurately compared to what's going on out there. So let's jump into some data and give you a feel for what you can watch for. So you see here the typical chart that I would show you in my market update videos. We look at the average price, the number of closed sales, and the days of inventory. We also talk about sales price to list price ratio and some other factors, right? But how does an experienced agent get the current pulse of the market? Well, there are two main factors I want to go in today to educate you a little bit more. So the first is tracking the current listing activity. You might be working with a buyer's agent or with a very experienced listing agent who is researching what's actually recently pending in your area. That is the first area to really get a sense of what buyers are thinking and how homes are selling. That is the best data. But there are multiple factors to research when you're calling those pendings, and so I want to cover that today. You might hear agents talking about number of disclosure downloads and some other factors like that. These are really good indicators to what's going on with the actual market. So you'll see here a comparison of the number of showings, the number of open house traffic, disclosure downloads, and the number of offers to give you a sense of how the market has changed throughout 2022 and how these are indicators to what's going on. So if we these are all listings that I personally sold in these different times. I chose the timelines just to give you a sense of how the market has shifted and changed. So if you look back to January, I had a property that had over 5 showings a day, 5 to 8, sometimes 10 on some of those busier days. Open house numbers were huge, like 60 on Saturday, 40 on Sunday, 76 disclosure packages out, and 35 full complete downloads of that. We ended up with 18 offers. So I will tell you, based on my experience, typically the number of disclosures downloaded, you end up with half of those in the number of offers. And if you go ahead and look at this chart here, you're going to see 5 downloads, 3 offers, 5 downloads, 2 offers, 11 downloads, 6 offers. So very close to 50% of that number is the number of offers you end up with. But what's leading up to that? Well, first off is going to be the number of showings. If you're finding that the showings are only 1 or 2 a day, you know the market is definitely slowing down. If all of a sudden it picks up like a listing I had in September and you're getting 4 or more showings a day, you know buyers are out there and really reacting to your price and you've priced it well and have got the market interested in this particular property. We had 40 groups for the open house, 24 disclosures, reviews, and 11 complete downloads, ended up with 6 offers. So these are great indicators. The second thing I really want you to understand is data. We track that. I track the active and pending and the balance of those two by different areas. You may have seen on Instagram some of my videos where I talk about this, but here are some of my notes. Every Friday I'm going in to get a pulse of what's going on. And I break it down by Santa Clara County single family homes, San Jose, and then multiple different areas throughout San Jose to get a pulse of what's actually going on in those areas. So you can see here the green arrow shows that the trend is ascending, meaning more and more properties are going into contract. That was a really good sign in August that we saw buyers starting to jump in again. And then right at September around Labor Day, things slowed down a little bit. That was pretty much a trend in many different areas. So the other thing that you really want to focus on is that percent of contract, but the long-term trend. So this is here looking at San Jose single family homes over the entire 2021 and so far in 2022. And what you can see here is that where we are today in the 50%-ish range is actually a good number. And if we went back to that previous slide, we were actually a little bit lower than that as active September is happening. But what I do want to point out is January last year, look at this, 55 to 59 to 72%, 65, it's in the 60s and it slowed down. March was really an active month. And we know that that's when we had that peak overbidding that we've talked about before. But look, you could see that the trend was really increasing in the latter half of last year. And that's what really started this huge interest in the property and overbidding going on. That 18% over was this year in March. So as you can see, it did start to slow down though, that trend. Even starting in January, we started to see a slight slowdown, but it was really strong still in the 70% range. So I really hope this information is valuable to you. I mentioned briefly that I've been sharing this information on Instagram, but now I'm making it on YouTube Shorts so that you can get a pulse of what's actually happening and what the trends are, how many properties are going into contract, how the inventory is changing by area. So if you like this video, you find this information very helpful, please definitely give me a thumbs up so Google knows. If you have questions, comment below and look for these new shorts that will be posted. I'll put the link below for you to be able to check out this playlist. So besides the weekly trends shorts videos, you might also want to watch 5 home buyer mistakes to avoid or download 2 of my really popular information sheets, 7 no-cost tips to increase your offer's value, or download the prep tips to maximize your property's value, because these are really important depending on what's going on with the market to maximize the offer you're getting or maximize the value in your home. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this information valuable.